listening to that. Well, I'm an engineer from the Department of Engineering, and the thing that I'm going to talk about today is a system that we developed. The thing is, if you think about it, in 1990s, late 1990s, 1996, 1997, what internet and what things do you have at that time? Would you have Twitter, Google's, you know what is? Web 2.0. Well, at that time, we got a chunk of money from UGC. It's probably the first tranche TDG grants that we try to innovate a system that we need to develop to teach our industrial engineers. Okay. At that time, when we try to serve the web, the thing that we can have to build up things is rather limited. If you think about it, computer bandwidth is limited as well. You don't have laptops like this, and so everything we need to design at that time in order to facilitate using e-learning. You will probably need to think about, we need to set up our own servers, we need to think about interface, that we have a CD-ROM as the initial interface to interface our graphics, and then through networks we go to the server to take repositories. Those repositories are reconfigurable, and then we try to present this to our students. So very briefly, what I'm going to talk about is this system. We call it Interactive Multimedia Learning System 2000. It was delivered in year 2000, so it's, wow, just over 10 years now, if you think about it. So don't laugh at the technology. This is the history lessons, basically. Okay, now, the thing is, I even don't have the web link for this. If you have, we still maintain a couple of servers to do that. If you're interested, we've got the CD-ROM for interface as well, and we still use it, so a limited version for that. Okay, so first of all, industrial engineering is probably not as familiar with most of us. Basically, it's a branch of engineering which was the youngest among Hong Kong, I suppose, 40 years of age, and basically this type of engineers basically tie together managerial skills and engineering skills together to solve problems. We are company doctors, and we try to educate students to try to solve any logistics, supply chain management problems, all this. So if you look at what we have in banks, in hospitals, and all these places, we have industrial engineers. The thing that we try to capitalize on IT is to be able to present interesting content, to motivate students, and to try to track the learning process, which in the past we might not be able so easily track. So basically the IMELS, the Interactive Multi-E-Learning Systems 2000, is trying to present real-world challenges. In the past, we need to take students out of the company to look at real cases, but now we can use this system. Previously, we used this system to present real-world challenges, and we try to pull together this managerial, engineering, and multidisciplinary skills together, all in their computer front, and then we try to promote teamwork and others. Okay, here you are. This is the first page of the systems. The system is developed jointly with a .NET company at that time. Is went bust already. We buy off some of the workforce here. It's still working for me, some of those. If you remember, if you like reading comics, if you remember comiccinema.com, at that time it's started by a venture capitalist, and we team up with them to produce this. So everything is sort of started from scratch, so to say. We draw that, we have comics books of painter to try to design the look and feel. So basically you will see that there's three main components here. Let me drive you through really quickly. We have a brief introductions of what is IE, what is industrial engineers, and we conceptualize as taking an MTR that you take station by station, and then you try to visit various places in Hong Kong by looking through the introductions of what is IE, and then what's engineer contribution to society, what is our industrial engineers do, the career prospects, and we present some case study as well for what IE does, and then what is going to be your future. And then students, by clicking through the various stations, they have interactive video at that time. We got voiceover, and then they could do Q&A sessions on that. So this is one of the sections, which is introductions. Then we have what we call the IE knowledge base, which is basically a repository of all the important information of IE. So for example, if you look at that, operations research, supply chain management, and all the others. Basically, what they want, what we want them to do is they will look at the repository, they will deposit things in the repository, and when they go to solve real problems as presented in what we call the virtual companies, then they will get the information from the ID knowledge base and try to solve problems. And here we have something like 6 companies with a number of different problems for them to go in to solve. And for example, what we have in the virtual company, there's organization, there are people, and most importantly, we present problems to them. And within a virtual companies, then we have people, which you can click on and then they will speak to you. Well, again, this is pretty old technology, but at that time, student feels that, wow, this is something strange. And the people head can turn, their eye blinks, and then their mouth talks, and then they can say something, and then we got first student, well, you can see, working in the company, and then we've got roadmap, for example, on how the learning path is going to be within the virtual company, and they got a workspace to log their materials. So their workbook basically is electronic workbooks that they can also got forums to speak to the facilitators, and then we can track every individual actions that they do, how many times they have accessed the knowledge base, how many times they have talked to an individual in the company, and they have also chat rooms. And think about it, at that time we built our own chat room for that. This is the student feedback. Okay, over all this year, we have been running the system for about 5-6 years. Now we have changed to other new system. One more recent one is with Department, Faculty of Education, the iTeach systems for teacher learnings, and we cooperated with staff in educating faculty. But this is what the industrial engineers feedback on that. They enjoy the thing, it's stimulating, they motivating things, and student actually feels about, they like the look and feel of the system. However, student like engineers, they probably prefer more structured sort of guidance in going through the system, which we need to sort of take a balance, strike a balance between whether we put the system to them and let them sort of play around with it and see how much they learn. And what we find is the right amount of knowledge that we present them is very critical. Whether they can go over that barrier and then start to learn themselves is that. And that's probably need to fine tune over time. And thank you very much indeed.